Now, we are in James chapter 5, verse 6. Reading from the King James Bible. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. Let's look at this in other versions. The English Standard Version, quote, Ye have condemned and murdered the righteous person. He does not resist you, end quote. Young's Literal Translation, Ye did condemn, ye did murder the righteous one. He doth not resist you, unquote. Now, remember to read this in context, which we did with the preceding verse. So let's go ahead and roll with this and take a look in the Greek, and let's parse this out. Remember, James is writing this to the dispersed Jews. So let's see what he has to say. Ye have condemned. Let's look at what this meaning is. This Greek word that he used is ye have condemned. Now let's take a look at this. The definition of this, ye have condemned, is to give judgment against one, to pronounce guilty, to condemn. Now, James only uses this Greek word one time, like this, in the entire Greek New Testament. Nobody else uses it like this way. So let's look at the parsing of this. It's written in the aorist tense, so it's in regards of what's going on rather than of the time of past, present, and future. It's written in the active voice, so it's you. And it's written in the indicative mood, which is stating a fact. Let's continue on. Ye have condemned and killed. Now let's look at and killed. Now, and killed is written in the aorist tense, active voice, indicative mood, just like before. Focused on the action of what's going on in that regards of time. You are doing this, and it's talking about it in effect. So, and killed. So let's look and see if he uses this Greek word any other time. And we can see that it is used by James once, but we're fortunate that it's used 4 other times. So let's read it. Matthew 21, verse 35. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, And the husbandman took his servants, and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another, unquote. Mark 12, verse 8, quote, And they took him, and killed him, and cast him out of the vineyard, unquote. Luke 20:15, quote, So they cast him out of the vineyard, and killed him. What therefore shall the Lord of the vineyard do unto them, unquote. And again in Acts 3:15, quote, And killed the Prince of Life, whom God hath raised from the dead, whereof ye are witnesses, unquote. Okay, continuing on, and killed the just. Now, let's take a look at the definition of the just. In a wide sense, the upright, righteous, virtuous, keeping the commandments of God. In a narrow sense, rendering to each his due, and that in a judicial sense, passing just judgment on others, whether expressed in words or shown by the manner of dealing with them. So let's continue on now. And he doth. Let's take a look and see if this is used any other time. And it's the only time it's used, this Greek word, in the New Testament. And only once. Continuing. And he doth not resist. Now let's parse out the Greek word for resist. It's written in the present tense. So now, the middle voice that indicates the subject is performing an action upon himself or for his own benefit. In indicative mood, so stating a fact. And continuing on, not resist you. Okay, so let's take a look and see what John Gill has to say on this. Quote, Ye have condemned and killed the just, unquote. Meaning not Christ the just one, as some have thought, whom the Jewish Sanhedrin condemned as guilty of death and got the sentence passed upon him, and in him to be crucified by Pontius Pilate on the day of the slaughter, at the time of the Passover, as some connect the last clause of the preceding verse with this, since the apostle is not writing to the Jerusalem Jews, nor to unbelievers, but to professors of religion, though he may say they did it because their nation did it. But rather, this is to be understood of the poor saints with whom just, through the imputation of Christ's righteousness to them, and lived soberly, righteously, and godly, and were harmless and inoffensive in their conversation, who were evil spoken of, censored, and judged, and condemned in a rash and uncharitable manner by their brethren, or were drawn to the judgment seat by the rich, who obtained a judicial process against them, and procured a sentence of condemnation to pass upon them unrighteously, and who killed them by taking away their good names from them, and by withholding from them their supplies of life, the fruit of their labor, whereby their lives were embittered and made miserable. Quote, and he does not resist you, unquote, it being neither in his power nor in his inclination, but takes it patiently, quietly submits, and makes no opposition, or God does not resist you as yet. He will do it shortly. Let's end John Gill's commentary on the Bible on this particular verse, James chapter 5, verse 6. May God richly bless you as you go along your ways studying the Scriptures.